Okay, let's jump right into this.
Welcome back to the deep dive, the place where we take a monumental stack of source material. In this case, three wildly interconnected narratives supported by uh, a wealth of background information and distill it into pure, essential knowledge.
That's right.
Today, our mission is to extract the surprising, often bewildering insights about fate, high-stakes finance, and the mechanics of covert operations, all boiling over in, well, the most complex concrete ecosystem on Earth. New York City.
And you, the listener, are getting a shortcut to understanding those invisible gears turning just beneath the city's surface. If you're looking for a common denominator, the axis around which all these stories spin.
It's immediately apparent.
It is. It's the yellow cab. We are focused squarely on one driver, the pivotal figure Mario Capelli. And he's not just a driver. He's an expert urban connector, a seemingly unstoppable matchmaker, and, yes, a frequent, sometimes unwitting co-conspirator. A co-conspirator in adventures that span from securing a first kiss, all the way to diffusing a global threat. He really is the ultimate vehicle for destiny, both personal and geopolitical.
Absolutely.
So we've got three incredible case studies that outline the sheer density of life he encounters. First, we have the matchmaker and the Manhattan makeover.
Which is just a beautiful story about impractical generosity colliding with corporate ambition.
Then we transition into espionage and embedded messages, which gets deep into the technical side of covert ops. And finally, we look at the gypsy curse and the real estate deal.
Yeah, that one contrasts ancient tradition with, cutthroat modern finance. It's a fantastic juxtaposition.
But we don't stop there. As critical background to all these stories, we have a massive segment, which was sorely needed, I think, dedicated to the core reality of it all.
The practical urban survival tips for riding in an NYC cab. So this deep dive isn't just about compelling stories, it's about understanding the very mechanism that connects these disparate lives. The sources fundamentally teach us how fast and how surprisingly interconnected life and love truly move in the Big Apple. So let's unpack this.
Okay, let's dive into the first case study, Just Whistle, which centers on Hannah Robertson. She arrives in NYC with this almost impossible determination to make her adventure of a lifetime start, instantly.
Right, and the sources paint a very specific picture of her arrival. It's not just a generic landing. It begins with the red-eye flight to JFK.
And the detail of the 7 a.m. arrival, that's not arbitrary, is it? It's part of her whole strategy.
Not at all. Hannah is a masterclass in combining high ambition with deeply constrained resources. The sources emphasize her planning. She takes the red-eye specifically because it's the cheapest route.
And then there's her whole strategy for fending off perceived threats.
Yeah, we read about how she plans to walk, always with purpose, and the crucial detail that she never wears a ponytail.
Because it could be grabbed by a mugger.
Exactly. So she's prepared for danger, but it's based on the sort of textbook understanding, not the actual reality of the city.
And her initial expectations versus that reality are, they're hilarious and very telling.
Oh, absolutely. The sources note she was dreaming of the Plaza Hotel.
Thanks to the Eloise books, of course.
Of course. But her budget, the harsh reality of her savings, lands her at the Pearson Hotel, which the sources pointedly describe as being on the seedy side.
That phrase, seedy side, let's unpack that. The sources are pretty clear. It doesn't necessarily mean dangerous.
Right. It's more a place where the infrastructure is just frayed. Think chipped paint, tired carpets, an atmosphere that suggests transient residency rather than a luxurious stay. It's safe enough for her, but it immediately establishes her as a pincher of pennies.
And that's crucial data for Mario.
It is. But the centerpiece of this entire introduction, the element that solidifies Mario's immediate assessment, is the famous, or maybe infamous, tuna crisis.
You can't discuss Hannah's entrance without discussing what was in that luggage.
It's truly spectacular. Her suitcase, a relatively small, flowered piece of luggage, it was vastly overloaded, straining at the seams.
And Mario clocks this immediately.
He does. He notes that a little flowered job like that was not designed to carry almost 50 pounds. And the cause of this excessive weight, 27 cans of tuna.
27 cans. Purchased on sale at a Safeway back in Phoenix.
And the motivation behind this, this is what elevates it from a simple packing mishap to a deep character insight. She wasn't saving money on food for herself, even though she's staying at the Pearson.
No, her intent was profoundly humanitarian, but also spectacularly impractical for New York.
Totally. Her plan was to distribute the tuna to the homeless. She explicitly stated she did not want to give them cash, which she feared they'd use to buy alcohol or booze, as the sources put it. She wanted to ensure they had nutritious food.
Which is a lesson right there.
Huh.
She's operating on this, like, purely idealist West Coast logic that just completely fails to account for urban reality.
Precisely.
Dang.
And Mario, you have to remember, is a retired NYPD veteran of 35 years. So he immediately makes a mental note.
He sees the good intentions.
He recognizes the generosity gene, the genuine impulse to help, but he also cynically notes that most street people in New York would probably prefer the option of a fifth of vodka over a can of tuna they can't even open.
So it's this duality idealism meeting urban cynicism that makes her the perfect candidate for what Mario's planning.
And the physical consequence of her overpacking just seals the deal. The fabric of the suitcase rips, a 15-inch tear right at the zipper.
And tuna cans just scatter everywhere on the pavement at the JFK taxi stand.
Chaos. Mario has to contend with impatient honking from the cab behind him while he's trying to duct tape this thing just to get it into the trunk.
So that visual, the Pearson Hotel destination plus the bargain brand tuna rolling around, it gives Mario this immediate holistic assessment of her.
Exactly. She is pinching pennies, but possesses an undeniable, if perhaps misguided, heart. This is the exact profile he's looking for.
Which brings us to Mario's true, self-appointed profession.
Matchmaking.
Right. And the sources reveal this isn't just some casual pastime. It's a dedicated hobby. He prides himself on setting up pleasant, good-natured friends.
And he boasts of an astounding 90% success ratio.
An astounding 90%. Now, is it self-reported? Almost certainly. Is it accurate? Well, the story suggests it just might be.
And the target for Hannah's specific brand of enthusiastic naivete is Zach Evans.
Yes, and the sources give us a detailed look into Zach's corporate life. He is a young, highly ambitious investment counselor who is laser-focused on hitting his monthly quota.
And why? Because his tyrannical boss, Drake Medford, has promised him the coveted corner office only if he secures the numbers.
Let's pause on that corporate context because this is where a deeper financial critique comes in. Zach isn't just ambitious. He's feeling the intense pressure of a ruthless corporate machine.
Medford represents that old guard of finance, right? Success at any cost. Totally. And Zach is wrestling with the guilt of having essentially driven out his predecessor, a man named Ed. He's sacrificing his personal life for a status symbol, for that corner office.
So Mario diagnoses Zach immediately. He sees a man who desperately needs to smell the roses.
A man whose ambition is just suffocating his humanity. Mario sees the Pearson tuna combination as the perfect antidote to that high-pressure Upper Manhattan finance world.
So how does he orchestrate it? His setup is brilliant because it relies on maximum plausibility with, minimum truth.
It's so clever. He mentions Hannah to Zach as a potential publishing contact, claiming, very specifically, that Zach's client is an editor of cookbooks and travel guides.
It's just close enough to Zach's world to be professionally compelling.
It gives him a legitimate, quota-friendly reason to contact her. Zach initially resists Mario's attempt to fix him up, especially when Mario brings up the bizarre detail about the tuna.
But the lure of a professional networking opportunity is too strong.
It is. So he shows up at the Pearson Hotel.
And this is where the chaos of Hannah's reality becomes just so entertaining. Mario ensures they meet right after she sets off the fire alarm in her room, room 538.
And the cause of the alarm is pure Hannah. She was trying to use sage as an air freshener.
Trying to cleanse the seedy side ambiance with spiritual purity.
And the sources describe the fireman who responds as highly unimpressed, delivering this deadpan instruction to just use Glade next time.
So Zach arrives minutes later, flowers in hand daisies and yellow roses, and finds fire trucks sitting smack dab in front of the Pearson.
He realizes instantly that she's the perp, not the victim, and his professional guard just starts to crumble. It's replaced by this mix of relief and intrigue.
The sources include this remarkable detail about his immediate emotional state. He was trying to avoid thinking about Ed, the man whose desk he coveted, but then he sees Hannah.
Standing barefoot in a thin flowered bathrobe, which gaps slightly to reveal a black lace bra and a cute little mole on her left breast.
And it completely derails his professional guilt. His focus just instantly shifts from corporate strategy to a much more primal attraction.
But the chaos keeps mounting. The fire alarm triggered the hotel sprinkler system,
which completely soaks and ruins all her dry cleanable clothes in the room. Now she has no wardrobe for New York.
And her first instinct is to try to compensate for her embarrassment by giving away Zach's expensive, beautiful bouquet to strangers.
As an apology for setting off the alarm, she gives roses to a woman who missed Derek Jeter bat and to an older woman late for her medication, claiming they needed aromatherapy.
Zach just watches 4 of his 6 roses disappear, realizing he has absolutely no proprietary claim over his own gift.
Yeah.
And this is a profound behavioral contrast.
He's all about control and ambition. She's all about immediate, generous impulse.
This is the moment their dynamic is established. The wardrobe disaster forces Zach to suggest a solution shopping at resale shops in the village.
And his reasoning is key. He insists he must come along because he drives a hard bargain, unlike Hannah, who he notes pays whatever price is marked.
It reflects her lack of financial discipline in his eyes. And this sets up their next day and solidifies their connection through this shared manufactured necessity.
And the sources emphasize that this shared chaos is an immediate bonding mechanism.
It really is. The relationship accelerates because they're solving a crisis together. But at the same time, Hannah gets a crucial dose of reality.
The publishing contacts Zach gave her, the editor of cookbooks, they tell her it would be months before anything opens up in fiction editing.
So she's facing professional disappointment while he's facing ethical guilt over Ed. When they finally have their first kiss, described as locking lips with paradise, the emotional dam just breaks.
And Zach realizes Mario manipulated the whole scenario.
He does. He even knows the 90% ratio is part of the setup, but he's too deeply attracted to care. He admits everything is exactly right.
And then comes the professional irony, which the sources highlight so beautifully.
Oh, it's perfect. Hannah, who had been struggling, suddenly secures a job offer from one of the biggest publishers in New York. And the critical twist:
She got the lead thanks to Ed, the man Zach had replaced.
the contact that Zach had given her originally. It's a perfect circle of karma.
Meanwhile, Zach had already decided to quit his job.
Yeah.
He preemptively rejected the corner office and Drake Medford's entire philosophy.
He realized he envied Mario Capelli, the retired cop driving a taxi, because Mario loved his work unconditionally. Zach realized he needed that authenticity more than any title.
So when Hannah finds out he quit, she runs toward him, yelling in the street, offering a solution to his unemployment.
She tells him she'll get him clients for his new ethical investment counseling business, or if he truly wants to drive a taxi like Mario, she'll get him fares because publishing people need a lot of taxi rides.
It's incredible. And the story culminates in the ultimate validation of Mario's system. They get married in his cab.
In his cab, with a long dress train, which Zach, ever the pragmatic one, complains about, and a minister riding shotgun.
And Mario is just ecstatic, noting his success percentage just went up.
The taxi, which brought her in with her tuna, is now the ultimate vehicle for their shared destiny. It's a profound testament to the idea that authenticity, even if it's impractical, is rewarded in New York.
It's fascinating how Mario shifts so seamlessly from managing that internal chaos of personal ambition to managing global chaos in our next story.
Well, the common denominator for Mario is assessment. In Case 1, he assesses character Hannah's generosity, Zach's ambition. In Case 2, he assesses risk. His retired NYPD background gives him this finely tuned sense of what's on the up and up and what isn't.
Making him invaluable in both scenarios, even if his methods are always non-traditional. Okay, so moving from that intense romantic drama to the Cold War of international intrigue, our second deep dive, Driven to Distraction, introduces us to Rachel Marlowe.
Right. She's a freelance artist specializing in opening credits and promo pieces, and she cycles through projects for major networks like A&E, Bravo, or Encore.
Her career path is really crucial to her identity, isn't it? She's a professional nomad.
She is. She works intensely to save money and then uses spontaneous international travel, we're talking Costa Rica, Indonesia, Pakistan, to offset the mundane, often isolating nature of her work. She uses travel as an escape mechanism.
In fact, she was literally preparing to go to a Costa Rican cloud forest when Roman Brock walks into her life.
And Roman Brock is the quintessential mysterious lover. He's characterized as a high-level consultant, a resident of the world, known for his utter stealth and, I love this detail, his impeccably unwrinkled clothes.
He never looks like he's just stepped off a plane or out of a fight.
Never. Their affair is immediately described as hot, lusty, unstoppable, and it turns Rachel's predictable life into an intriguing, captivating adventure.
But the seeds of doubt, as they always do, start with these small, persistent details. In this case, the specific sound of his vibrating pager.
Exactly. His sudden, frequent disappearances are only ever explained with that vague, frustrating statement, duty calls. And this creates tremendous friction for Rachel.
She realizes her intense sexual desire isn't enough to compensate for the profound lack of honesty.
So she hits that tipping point. She decides she has to investigate. And who is the perfect, discreet, and resourceful partner for a tale in New York City?
Mario Capelli.
Of course. She enlists him, leveraging his retired NYPD instincts and his access to the ultimate surveillance tool, the NYC taxi fleet.
And the sources confirm Mario already had his own suspicions about Roman.
He did. He felt the man was fundamentally not on the up and up. So Mario's assistance here is a blend of police work and personal favor. Their surveillance plan is methodical.
He calls in a favor, right, to get another cab involved.
Right, a co-conspirator cab driven by Sam, a fellow driver. Mario and Rachel follow in his own taxi, and they maintain communication with hand signals and quick turns.
There's an interesting detail where Mario speaks to Sam in Italian.
Yeah, a language Roman would likely understand if he were paying attention. But the conversation is deliberately innocuous. Something about traffic patterns and coffee, to avoid raising suspicion, but maintain the appearance of a casual dialogue.
They tail Roman to a quiet street on the Upper East Side. Upscale condo buildings.
And this is where the personal betrayal and the global danger just converge explosively. Roman meets a tall, slim brunette.
Who is immediately identified in the sources as Domino Black, a known covert operative.
And Roman, who is highly sensitive to his surroundings, senses the danger almost immediately. He turns to shield Rachel just as a dark sports car headlights off approaches and gunfire erupts from the passenger side window.
Roman reacts instantly, diving over Rachel, using his body as a shield. And then we see Mario, the matchmaker, reassert his true identity.
The 35-year NYPD veteran, he swings open his driver's side door, uses it as cover, and emerges with a large, unfriendly-looking .357 Magnum clutched confidently in his hands.
Definitely not standard procedure for a fair dispute.
Not at all. And the fallout is catastrophic for their relationship. Rachel, seeing the guns, the attack, the strange woman, she feels utterly betrayed.
She leaves, condemning him as a liar and a criminal.
Despite his desperate, almost pleading assertion that millions of lives are at stake, Roman later confesses to Mario that he broke nearly every protocol because he just couldn't bear to leave Rachel after his investigation of her had concluded.
Let's talk about that investigation of Rachel, because it leads directly to her unexpected and critical role in this whole operation. The agency wasn't initially targeting her.
No, not her as a spy. They were targeting her professional work itself. And this is where we get into the essential technical deep dive.
Okay, so the agency had credible intelligence that a sleeper cell was using Rachel's specific professional environment freelance graphic design to embed subliminal messages.
Exactly. The source even cites a documentary she was working on for Animal Planet as one target. Roman had been tasked with tracking the graphic designers involved.
And the technical detail here is crucial. How do you embed a subliminal message into a documentary graphic?
Well, the sources suggest it wasn't blatant text. It was more like subtle steganographic data. It could involve imperceptible color palette shifts designed to trigger recognition in a trained eye.
Or maybe specific frequency modulation embedded within the visual noise of the opening credits.
Precisely. All designed to be seen by the target, but dismissed as just, an artistic flourish by the general public.
And Rachel's unique skill, which the agency recognized, was her specialized ability to spot these subtle differences.
She calls herself a geek who obsessively studies the work of other designers. This allowed her to identify the graphic designer's unique styles, signatures, and subtle clues embedded deep within the images.
And that insight was the key.
It was a key that led the agency to the terrorist artist who had dropped off the circuit recently.
So the operation then shifts from tracking to counter-messaging.
Right. The agency intercepts the terrorist artist, but the sleeper cell expects a final timed message. If they receive nothing, they could initiate a catastrophic premature attack. This forces the hand of Amélie Tremaine, Mrs. Spy Boss.
And Tremaine realizes Rachel's skill is non-replicable.
Not by standard agency personnel. So Rachel is effectively forced to work with them to precisely replicate the unique graphic signature and send a counter message to prevent the attack.
And the sources stress that she accepts this. She feels this terrifying yet invigorating rush of adrenaline.
She's essentially trading her mundane freelance life for high-stakes operative work.
And the story concludes with this profound romantic reconciliation and a total identity shift for Roman. He admits he compromised his entire investigation for her because he fell in love.
And his gesture of commitment is. It's theatrical and it's absolute. Rachel is put on a plane to Puerto Rico, a highly regulated vacation orchestrated by Tremaine, which includes Mario and his now fiancée, Iris.
She's exhausted, emotionally drained, and she shifts in her seat.
And this blonde guy in a baseball cap next to her starts speaking. It's Roman, but completely transformed.
We're talking dyed blonde hair, vibrant green contacts, and a manufactured scar.
A total physical metamorphosis designed to prove the complete end of his previous covert life. He has sacrificed his entire professional identity, the stealth, the anonymity, the impeccably unwrinkled persona for her.
And the final symbolic gift
Is a small gift wrap box. Inside is his old broken pager. He tells her, "No more games, Rachel, no more distractions." He'd severed all ties, giving up his career, his cover, his past life.
demonstrating that for him, protecting their future together was the ultimate mission.
And once again, Mario's cab system and network were the invisible infrastructure enabling this highest level of personal and professional change.
The common thread seems to be that the greatest rewards require the greatest personal sacrifice. Zach giving up the corner office, Roman giving up his identity. Let's see how that plays out in our third case, where finance meets ancient tradition.
Our final case study grounds us back into the specific neighborhoods of New York, exploring the collision between ruthless modern real estate and deeply personal mystical traditions. We meet Sabina Amanar.
A Parsons fashion design graduate who is, in her own estimation, stuck.
She's stuck working at her grandmother's extraordinary shop. And the sources give such vivid detail of this place. It's a repository of eccentric oddities.
Dried roots, jars of pickled eggs.
And, critically, a stuffed weasel perched ominously above the cash register. This is the environment of tradition and duty that's holding back her modern ambition.
And presiding over all this chaos is Ruta Lupescu, Sabina's psychic grandmother.
Ruta owns the apartment building they live in, and she embodies contradictions. She is fiercely protective of Sabina, yet desperately wants her to leave the nest and pursue her fashion career.
She's a purveyor of practical magic.
Totally. We hear these fantastic anecdotes about her remedies. She gives out clay amulets and love charms like the one Chloe Kincaid used, leading to her fantastic sex life.
And potions like the special ingredient Mrs. Nussbaum used to perfect her husband's apple cobbler.
The sources use these details to establish that Ruta's magic works, even if the results are, mundane or personal.
And the conflict arrives in the sharp-tailored form of Alec Harnett, a real estate investor.
Right. Alec is under immense pressure from his father to secure Ruta's building. It's a crucial piece of a development puzzle. But Alec does not want to operate like his ruthless father.
He wants to be more like his revered grandfather, George Harnett. Ethical, honest.
So he's facing this classic moral dilemma, family pressure versus personal ethics. He stumbles into the shop, seeking a fortune reading, and encounters Sabina.
And she immediately tells him his problem involves family and a decision made many years ago, and advises him simply to be honest.
Alec, who is instantly smitten by this violet-eyed beauty, uses her reading as a prompt for his deception. He counters her advice by asking her out. Have dinner with me.
His immediate attraction complicates his professional mission from the start.
And the deception begins because Sabina is immediately suspicious. She notes that he sounds distinctly like a real estate agent, a profession her grandmother vehemently dislikes.
And it's Mario who confirms it.
It is. In a quick cab ride conversation, he confirms to Ruta that Alec Harnett is indeed the investor talking about the building on his cell phone. That's how the truth of his motive is revealed to the matriarch.
So Alec takes his pursuit to extreme, almost ridiculous lengths.
He engages in malingering, pretending to be hurt, to gain access to Sabina's apartment, to be on the second floor. He even notes that the apartment is stuffy and warm, trying to distance himself from her life.
And he's immediately confronted by Ruta,
who is not amused by his performance at all. She warns him to behave like a gentleman or suffer the wrath of one of my curses, making sure to emphasize that she doesn't trifle with broken bones.
suggesting her curses are aimed at far more serious, deep-seated afflictions.
Exactly. But the real business choice and the unexpected twist is revealed in a private meeting between Alec and Ruta.
Ruta agrees to sell the building, but her motivation is not financial gain.
No. She insists the money be used exclusively to fund Sabina's fashion design company.
This changes everything.
It does. Ruta believes that as long as she owns the building and lives there, Sabina will feel tied to this place by duty, preventing her from starting her independent life.
So she's selling her most valuable asset, not for wealth, but to facilitate her granddaughter's freedom.
A profound sacrifice. But this noble intention is immediately, tragically misinterpreted.
Sabina overhears the deal and feels profoundly betrayed.
She sees it not as a sacrifice, but as Alec using their burgeoning personal relationship to manipulate her grandmother into selling her home. This confrontation marks the low point, where romance and ambition clash violently.
So how does Alec achieve redemption?
Through radical honesty, echoing the advice Sabina gave him in the very beginning. He confesses his fear not of his father or of failing the deal, but of losing Sabina. He tells her he was afraid of her.
Afraid of the depth of his feelings and afraid of regretting not telling her how much she meant to him.
And the ultimate gesture, a complete rejection of his father's corporate philosophy, occurs at a celebration.
Mario and Iris's engagement party, held on Ruta's rooftop garden, which the sources describe as being beautifully lit by thousands of tiny lights.
Alec gives Sabina the signed purchase agreement for the building, and in front of everyone, he dramatically rips it up.
He explains that he realized the building wasn't what he truly coveted, she was.
He explicitly chooses love and personal honesty over professional success and satisfying his demanding father. This choice elevates him to the moral standard of his grandfather, George.
And the unifying thread, the matriarch, gets the final word.
Of course. Ruta is utterly satisfied, taking full credit for the match. She claims her love charm, a small keychain she'd given to Mario for Christmas, and her specialized potions worked perfectly.
She even claims she saw a wedding in her crystal ball that very afternoon.
Satisfying her own prophecy. And Mario, stunned to realize he was carrying a magical keychain all this time, is forced to just concede their cosmic partnership.
So these three narratives, the tuna crisis, the subliminal message, the real estate deal, are all driven by this one man. Let's shift focus now to the logistical, functional reality of that unifying factor. Mario and the concrete rules of cab riding in New York.
This section is so crucial because it takes us out of narrative fantasy and into verifiable urban systems. Mario Capelli is more than a plot device. He's the embodiment of the successful New York working professional who has mastered the city's complex infrastructure.
So let's start by synthesizing his identity, because it defines his authority. He's a retired NYPD officer of 35 years. That career steeped him in the city's hidden networks and dangers.
Right. And he drives a taxi now, not out of financial necessity. He drives because he loves the job. He finds the daily human interaction deeply satisfying. That's a fact Zach Evans observed and envied.
And the sources are very clear about his driving style. He still drives his cab like a cruiser.
He does. He doesn't use a siren anymore, but he substitutes the horn for it, navigating traffic with the confident aggression of an experienced patrolman. This informs his entire approach to life.
From driving like he owns the road to carrying a .357 Magnum in his taxi.
A relic of his past role as protector. And his network is his power structure. It includes Iris Rivera, the Cuban coffee stand owner, who becomes his fiancée.
And the sources detail how he used that high-risk mission with Rachel as the catalyst to finally make his move on Iris.
Kissing her soundly behind the cart before asking her to dinner. He views figures like Zach, Hannah, and Ruta not just as fares, but as his New York family.
His methods of persuasion, whether for love or life advice, rely on the intimacy of the cab. He distributes subtle, tangible gifts.
Like the Ruta-supplied love charm keychain he gave to Alec, unwittingly furthering Ruta's scheme.
He's also brutally blunt, warning Zach about Hannah's potentially irresponsible advice, but ultimately encouraging him to follow his heart.
And his cab, adorned with pictures of his successful couples on the dash, functions literally as a mobile matchmaking office, reinforcing his 90% success ratio to every new fare.
Okay, now let's transition completely. From fate and love charms to the cold, hard, non-fiction wisdom provided in the sources, pure, practical, urban survival for the NYC passenger.
Yes. This is where we deliver the necessary depth on the mechanics of the city.
The first, most basic piece of advice is hailing. The sources recommend the Statue of Liberty imitation.
Standing at the curb with your arm held straight up and out. But more critically, the availability signal is key. You must look for the numbers on top of the taxi.
Yes, the clarity of the dome light. If the numbers are illuminated, the cab is available.
If the numbers are off, it's either occupied or, more often late in the shift, heading back to the garage or a specific borough. Knowing that simple light rule saves you massive amounts of wasted time.
Safety and awareness are paramount, and the sources don't mince words. Always wear your seatbelt. Always exit curbside.
To avoid opening your door into oncoming traffic, but the primary warning is about gypsy cabs.
And we need to go beyond just saying they are unmarked and unsafe. This really speaks to the economics of the taxi system.
Absolutely. The official yellow taxis operate under the highly regulated, historically expensive medallion system. Unregulated gypsy cabs or livery cars are unmarked and operate outside the Taxi and Limousine Commission, the TLC regulations.
So while some rideshares operate legally now, these true gypsy cabs are unlicensed, uninsured, and potentially unsafe.
And they often prey on people leaving airports or train stations who just don't know any better. The sources stress that the yellow taxi and its regulations are your primary protection. If it's not yellow, you have to assume increased risk, and the fare is likely arbitrary.
Speaking of fares, the sources provide excellent specific advice on avoiding being ripped off. This is about cultural dynamics and communication barriers.
It is. Many NYC cab drivers are foreign-born, and the city is relentlessly noisy. Communication through that plexiglass partition can be a challenge.
So passengers must study their route and, crucially, know their cross streets before they get in.
You have to speak loud and clear and be specific. This signals to the driver that you know what you're talking about, and it's often enough to deter them from taking a deliberately longer route. It's subtle psychological warfare.
It's about projecting competence. If you say, "Take me to Fifth Avenue," the driver has options. If you say, "Take me to Fifth Avenue and 42nd Street, then turn right," you control the narrative.
That control is essential, and the sources are incredibly firm about regulation and passenger rights. Always get a receipt.
Not just for business expenses, but because the receipt contains the driver's license number, the medallion number, and trip details.
And that information is vital if you need to lodge a complaint, send a compliment, or most commonly retrieve lost items. The power of that receipt cannot be overstated.
Lost your briefcase. Without the receipt, that cab is gone forever. With it, you have a direct line to the regulatory body.
Furthermore, the sources confirm that New York airports, like JFK, operate on fixed rates to specific zones, which you must confirm beforehand. This prevents post-trip negotiation.
But the truly empowering knowledge is the list of explicit passenger rights, which are often literally posted on the back of the partition.
Absolutely. You should never be afraid to insist the driver comply. These rights include turning down the radio, turning on the AC or heat, and critically demanding that the driver stop using a personal cell phone.
And the sources indicate that while some drivers may resist, most will comply if asked firmly, because refusal can result in a direct complaint to the TLC using that receipt.
You are paying for a service, and you have regulatory recourse.
Finally, we have to factor in the reality of NYC traffic, which defies logic and planning. You need to plan travel time not just around the standard rush hours, but around location-specific dynamics.
For example, showtimes in the theater district create specific localized traffic nightmares between, say, 6:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m.
If you're headed to Penn Station for a 7:30 train, you have to factor in the choke points near Broadway, which can add 20 minutes to a 5-minute trip.
And here is the ultimate, if inconvenient, reality check. It's technically against the rules, but it defines the end-of-shift dynamic. Cab drivers may wave you off if they don't want to go to your destination.
This usually happens late at night or if they are trying to return to their home, Borough Queens or Brooklyn, before their shift ends.
Picking up a fare going in the opposite direction is economically illogical for them, even though TLC rules say they have to accept all fares. You have to understand this unspoken system. If you're going to the Bronx at 4:30 a.m., expect a wave-off unless the driver lives there. This level of insider knowledge is the true deep dive.
So what stands out when we connect the graphic designer's subtle signatures to the economics of the taxi medallion is that immersion in a truly complicated environment like New York City provides knowledge far more valuable than any formal education.
Absolutely. Beneath the frantic pace, the yellow cab reveals these hidden systems at work. Mario's personal matchmaking framework, the protocols of global espionage, and the unspoken rules of urban commerce.
The cab is the ultimate common denominator. It links lives that should never intersect. It connects Hannah Robertson, landing with 27 cans of tuna for the homeless, to Rachel Marlowe, using her artistic geek skills to identify subliminal terrorist messages.
It links Alec Harnett, the real estate investor grappling with corporate guilt, to Ruta, the purveyor of magical keychains and ancient curses. Mario Capelli is the engine of all these disparate fates.
Ensuring that destiny, or perhaps just a heavily duct-taped suitcase, gets delivered on time.
This deep dive shows that whether it's knowing how to hail a cab efficiently, understanding the economics that drive drivers to refuse fares, or knowing how to spot a hostile graphic signature, The concrete reality of New York City is defined by these incredible overlapping layers of intensely personal, financial, and strategic experience.
The knowledge gained by simply navigating the city is complex, detailed, and utterly necessary for survival.
Which brings us back to the heart of Mario's selection process. His highly successful 90% success rate in matchmaking stemmed from finding people who were simply pleasant and good-natured like Hannah, despite her tuna baggage.
So if you were looking for a life change, a new career, a new partner, a totally new reality, would you submit to Mario's stringent selection process? Would you trust a retired cop, armed cab driver, and seasoned urban connector to know what you need better than you know yourself?
If fate is driving, maybe it's best just to buckle up and trust the guy with the .357 Magnum.
Something to think about.